Something fundamental has shifted around Alexandra Eala, and the WTA is taking serious notice. Everywhere Eala goes, the spotlight follows. Fans are packing the stands, ticket demand is surging, and tournament directors are suddenly facing an unexpected dilemma. They are asking where they can put Alexandra Eala so the crowd can actually fit. From Washington to Toronto, this has stopped looking like a normal breakout story. It is becoming a full-blown phenomenon. And now the spotlight moves to Ohio after a remarkable stretch of tennis in North America. Eala arrives at the Cincinnati Open with something she did not have at the beginning of the season. She has a WTA title, a place inside the world top 20, and a rapidly growing international fan base. The most fascinating part isn't simply her ranking, it is the reaction around her. In Washington, the excitement surrounding her became impossible to ignore. Tournament officials reportedly saw significant ticket interest directly connected to when Eala would play. Fans lined up hours before her matches just to catch a glimpse of her warming up. The energy inside the stadium was electric, vibrating with a kind of intensity usually reserved for late-round matches featuring multi-time Grand Slam champions. Then in Toronto, the demand became even more striking. Reports surfaced that the available grandstand capacity was simply not enough to accommodate the expected interest in her opening match. Organizers were caught completely off guard as thousands of fans tried to flood into a venue designed for half that number. Think about what that means. This isn't Manila. This isn't Cebu. This is North America, and a Filipina tennis player is becoming one of the biggest attractions wherever she appears. But here is where the story gets even more interesting. Eala isn't generating this attention simply because she is Filipino. She is generating it because the results are now backing up the hype. She has climbed to world number 20, captured the biggest singles title of her career in Washington, and shown that she can compete with and defeat some of the most established names in women's tennis. When you look closely at her run in Washington, you begin to realize why the tennis world is taking her so seriously. She did not simply reach the final and take advantage of an easy draw or rely on opponent injuries. Her path through the tournament was a gauntlet of top-tier talent. She went toe-to-toe with powerful baseliners, veteran tacticians, and elite defenders, proving at every step that her game possesses no obvious weakness. The defining moment came in the championship match against Jessica Pegula. Facing a top 10 star on American soil in front of a partisan crowd, Eala displayed poise far beyond her years. After dropping a tight opening set and enduring a lengthy weather delay, she returned to the court with absolute clarity and unmatched intensity. She dictated play with her forehand, targeted corners with surgical precision, and refused to let Pegula find any rhythm. By the time she served out the final set, delivering a stunning performance to claim her first WTA Tour-level singles title, the tennis world realized it was witnessing the birth of a genuine star. That victory was historic for Philippine tennis, marking the first time a player from the nation had captured a crown of that magnitude. But it was also a massive competitive statement to the rest of the tour. Eala proved that her game belongs at the very top of the sport. Following Washington, the narrative around her transformed overnight. Media outlets across the globe began featuring her story, sports commentators analyzed her stroke mechanics, and tennis fans from every corner of the world started tuning in to watch her matches. The momentum she built in DC carried directly into the following weeks, creating a snowball effect of attention, pressure, and success. Yet despite the noise, Eala remained remarkably grounded. In every interview, she spoke about process, execution, and stay present in the moment. That mental maturity is perhaps her greatest asset. Many young players crumble when the spotlight suddenly turns toward them, but Eala seems to draw energy from it. Now place that story inside the broader context of her season. Before this North American hardcourt swing, Eala was viewed as an intriguing young prospect with high potential. People knew her name because of her stellar junior career, including her historic U.S. Open junior title, but the transition to the senior tour is notoriously difficult. Many talented juniors struggle to bridge the gap, caught between the physical demands of the adult game and the mental grind of traveling the world week after week. Eala did not just bridge that gap, she smashed through it. Her summer campaign has been a masterclass in linear progression. Starting on the grass courts in June and continuing onto the North American hard courts, she began stringing together win after win against players ranked significantly higher than her. With every victory, her confidence grew, and with every victory, the crowds got bigger. By the time she arrived in Ohio for the Cincinnati Open, she was no longer an unseeded floating threat that favorites hoped to avoid early. She was a marquee name, a headliner, and a top 20 player that everyone in the draw was studying. The transformation from promising challenger to established star happened in a matter of weeks, but the foundation was laid through years of relentless work, tactical discipline, and an unwavering belief in her ability to compete on the biggest stages in tennis. The excitement building around her is not a fleeting internet trend or a temporary wave of momentum. It is grounded in cold, hard athletic achievement. She is winning matches, taking down world-class opponents, and elevating her game under maximum pressure. That is why the WTA is paying attention. That is why tournament directors are scrambling to give her bigger courts. And that is why Eala Mania is rapidly spreading across the global sports landscape. The story moved beyond the tennis court when the tour arrived in Toronto for the Canadian Open. It was here that the sheer scale of Eala Mania became impossible for tournament organizers to manage without drastic adjustments. Tournament director Carl Hale found himself addressing an unprecedented logistical situation. Reports and ticketing data indicated that fan interest for Eala's opening matches exceeded 5,000 requests, while the designated grandstand venue had an official capacity of roughly 2,800 seats. In the world of professional tennis, tournament organizers follow strict scheduling algorithms based on player rank and star power. Normally, an unseeded or newly seeded contender is placed on secondary show courts during early rounds, but Eala completely broke those traditional metrics. When thousands of fans poured into the venue, creating massive overflow lines and standing room-only crowds, tournament officials realized they were dealing with something far beyond standard tennis fandom. Security guards and court attendants worked overtime as chants rang out across the grounds. The energy resembled a high-stakes Grand Slam night session rather than a middle weekday match. This kind of demand creates an unusual problem for sports organizers. When a player's draw overflows standard court capacities in North America, they cease to be just another competitor on the order of play. They transform into a prime spectacle. What made the Toronto phenomenon even more remarkable was the composition of the audience. The Filipino diaspora in Canada turned out in extraordinary numbers, waving flags, wearing custom shirts, and creating a carnival atmosphere. Yet as her matches progressed, something broader began to happen. Neutral Canadian tennis fans, intrigued by the noise and hype, started filling the seats alongside the loyal local supporters. Every booming forehand winner was met with roaring applause, and every clutch defensive play amplified the growing narrative that Eala was becoming one of the most compelling figures on the modern tour. However, hype alone cannot sustain crowd interest at this level forever. The reason the attention in Toronto continued to escalate was simple. Eala was winning. She extended her career best-winning streak to 7 consecutive matches, pushing past fierce opposition in grueling physical battles. In her opening rounds, she battled through tough multi-set encounters against explosive opponents like Alicia Parks and Katie McNally. Against Parks, Eala showcased incredible composure, resetting after losing a competitive second set to dominate the decider 6-2. Against McNally, who was playing in front of a supportive North American crowd, Eala weathered heavy baseline pressure, saving crucial break points before closing out a tense 3-set thriller. These victories demonstrated a vital evolution in Eala's game. Winning comfortably when playing at peak performance is one thing, but grinding out wins when fatigue sets in and the opponent is playing freely is the hallmark of a top-level pro. Eala proved she could do both. By the time she reached the round of 16 against Olympic gold medalist and former world number 4 Belinda Bencic, Eala had become the central storyline of the tournament. Though her 7-match winning streak eventually came to an end against Bencic in a hard-fought battle, the impression she left on Toronto was permanent. Her performance in Canada solidified her standing among the upper echelon of young talent on the WTA Tour. Social media engagement around the tournament surged whenever her clips were posted, with highlights of her sharp angles and explosive baseline rallies drawing hundreds of thousands of views within hours. Media outlets across North America began digging deeper into her story. They analyzed how a player from a nation without a deep tradition in professional tennis could rise to the top 20 of the world rankings at just 21 years old. Pundits noted that her appeal went beyond geographic or national ties. Her fighting spirit, clean ball striking, and charismatic court presence made her uniquely magnetic. As the Canadian Open concluded, tournament organizers openly acknowledged the impact she had on ticket sales and fan engagement throughout the week. Eala didn't just participate in Toronto. She transformed the atmosphere of the entire event. Leaving Toronto, Eala stood at a career-high ranking, having proven that her Washington title was no isolated fluke. The momentum was real, the crowds were expanding, and the tennis world was bracing for what would happen next as the North American hardcourt swing shifted its focus toward Ohio and the Cincinnati Open.